Good morning, good morning. It is Tuesday. It's 11:30 Eastern Time, and that means it is time for First Chapter Fun. Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? My goodness, I can't believe this is, I just had to check. It is episode 76 today of First Chapter Fun, but I'll get back to that in a minute. Good morning, Hank. Good morning, Tracy. So I'm broadcasting on Instagram from my phone. Good morning, Melanie, and from Facebook on my webcam. Bit of an eventful morning. I did some baking today. I made had some stuff going on. I needed to just clear my mind, so I decided to bake. And I made a banana bread, which I make all the time. And it turned out like a brick. And, well, that happens when you confuse baking powder with cornstarch. So I'm now redeeming myself and making baked beignets, actually, which I found in this brilliant book. This is my go-to baking book right now. It's called Black Girl Baking by Jarell Guy. She's on Instagram, actually, as Chocolate for Basil. Sorry, Chocolate for Basil for you North American people. And this is what I'm trying to make. Don't they look lovely? So this is what I'll be making later, so I can redeem myself after my disastrous banana bread. So that was fun. Anyway, after that, my internet crashed. It just not on my phone. I mean, the whole thing just went down. The whole internet was down for at least an hour. So I was asking my kids, can I borrow your phone at 11:30 for First Chapter Fun? Oh my gosh. Anyway, we're back. We're here. It's all worked out. But if you lose the connection, it could be that my internet has gone down again, or it could be that either Facebook or Instagram have booted me out. So if that happens, well, if the internet goes down, there's not a lot I can do. But if it's one of the platforms that throws a wobbly and chucks me out, and then I'll come back to that platform and start the broadcast again. But fingers crossed, that's my 3 disasters that happened this morning. And, you know, we're now done for the day. Anyway, I see Hank is on Facebook as well. She says it's 99 degrees in Boston. 99. What's that in real money, in centigrade? We'll just go with really hot. It's horrible. Here it was really humid yesterday as well. We're in the 40s, low 40s in Celsius, and it was hot and sticky and nasty. But it's cooled down a little bit today. Elizabeth says hello, and Beth too. I just scrolled down and now I can't see. We have the woman who walks. It's so lovely to see you all. Thank you for joining. So let me tell you about today's book. Today I'm really excited to read from The Last Wife by Karen Hamilton, who hopefully has found us on Instagram and Facebook. And as always, when we broadcast, you can ask the author questions. It's a little bit tricky it's not tricky on Instagram. You just have to ask them while I'm reading, whereas on Facebook, you can ask them anytime and Karen can go back and answer them for you. The comments on Facebook Live do disappear once I finish the broadcast, but I will save it to our Instagram TV, so you'll be able to watch it again. And as I mentioned, you'll be able to leave comments and watch it again if you like. And as I mentioned, this is episode 76, so this of First Chapter Fun. So this is the place where Hank Philippi Ryan, my partner in crime, and myself, Hannah Mary McKinnon, we read the first chapter of a different book twice a week, every Tuesday and every Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. So if this is the first time you've joined, I've got some great news for you. You have 75 episodes that you can catch up on, because they are all saved both on the Facebook group at First Chapter Fun, in the videos tab, and also on Instagram under the IGTV. So you can go and watch them all. So this is the book I'm reading from today, The Last Wife by Karen Hamilton. And Karen has such an interesting background, and she has such an interesting technique as well. I'll tell you about that in a minute. And this is her second novel. Her first one was The Perfect Girlfriend, a smash hit. And Karen writes these unapologetically twisted characters. Oh, she's just joined us. Hi, Karen, on Instagram. And they are just, they can so easily justify everything they do that's evil and make it seem not so evil to themselves, or not even evil at all, and they just justify their actions. And she writes these brilliantly twisted characters. They are absolutely fantastic, and I devoured both of her books in no time at all, and you should too. So let me tell you a little bit about oh, we have lots of people commenting still. Oh yes, the weather, 81 degrees Fahrenheit in Chicago. Oh, and Dottie, thank you Dottie, she said 99 Fahrenheit is 37.22222 Celsius. Yes, hot, nasty, ick, gross. And we get lots of humidity here, which is one of the reasons why I don't bother straightening my hair anymore, because what's the point? Anyway, let me introduce you to Karen Hamilton. That's enough about my sheep hair. I'll tell you about Karen, who's far more interesting. So Karen Hamilton spent her childhood in Angola, Zimbabwe, Belgium and Italy, and worked as a flight attendant for many years. Having now put down roots in Hampshire in the UK with her husband and 3 children, she satisfies her wanderlust by exploring the world through her writing. Karen is a graduate of the Faber Academy, where she completed their writing a novel course and their getting into character course, an introduction to psychotherapy. Karen finds the subject fascinating and loves to delve deep into the minds of her characters. When she's not writing or reading, Karen enjoys swimming, travelling, you know, when she can, and walks by the sea. That sounds perfect to me. The Perfect Girlfriend, ta-da, was her first novel, which was based in the airline world, which of course she knows very well, being an airline attendant, flight attendant. And The Last Wife, ta-da, I should stop doing that, the sound effects, is her second novel, which is set in a small fictional village within the New Forest, an area where Karen enjoys cycling and walking. And Karen and I, we did an event recently for the launch actually of The Last Wife, which published on July 7th in North America. And it was so funny because we've realised that neither of us have ever really been rule breakers. We've always been the good girl. Still, you know, still don't like breaking rules, and I follow traffic signals and all that stuff. I'm not a rule breaker, but we both really, really enjoy writing twisted characters who do all these evil things. And we figured perhaps it's an exploration of our dark side, but without ever getting into trouble. So that was quite funny. And Karen has this really interesting technique where she goes to a therapist in character. So the main character in The Last Wife, which I'm going to read from, is called Marie. And so Karen went to see a therapist, and it's a therapist who does this. She went in character as Marie and spoke to the therapist in character. And the therapist was asking her questions about her past and things like that. And I just thought that was so fascinating. And Karen said at one point she had to break character and say to the therapist, you do know that this isn't me, Karen. I'd never do these things. This is all Marie. I just want to reassure you that I'm not like her. I thought that was just so fascinating. Such a unique technique actually to really get into your characters' minds and make them so real. And her characters feel so real, both in The Perfect Girlfriend. Looks like I'm going live back on Facebook. Yes, Karen, tell us about your air travel. You did so much. All right, so it looks like I'm live again on Facebook. Hurrah! Round 2 of The Last Wife. I'm so sorry, Karen. This hasn't happened for a long time. It's never actually happened on my desktop that it just froze. Maybe it's my internet being a bit weird and stupid again. So, on Facebook and Instagram, here we go. The Last Wife. This is the book I'm reading from today. So let me get on with it and introduce you to Karen's brilliant book. So this is The Last Wife. 2 women, a dying wish, and a web of lies that will bring their world crashing down. Nina and Marie were best friends until Nina was diagnosed with a terminal illness. Before she died, Nina asked Marie to fulfill her final wishes. But her mistake was in thinking that Marie was someone she could trust. What Nina didn't know was that Marie always wanted her beautiful life, and that Marie has an agenda of her own. She'll do anything to get what she wants. Marie thinks she can keep her promise to her friend's family on her own terms, but what she doesn't know is that Nina was hiding explosive secrets of her own. So that's the last wife. Doesn't that just sound so compelling? There we go. There's the screen, there's the cover again. And you can get your hands on it now because it came out in North America, certainly in July the 7th, so it's out and available. And you'll find Karen on KarenHamiltonWriter.com, on Instagram, Karen Hamilton Author, on Facebook, Karen Hamilton Writer, and on Twitter, KJH Author. But don't worry, I'm going to put all of those links. I'll update the Facebook post because, of course, it's just all disappeared, and I'll make sure it's on Instagram as well. But if you're on Instagram, go follow Karen Hamilton Author, and you'll find out everything about her wonderful books. All right, so this is being read, of course, as always, with permission of the publisher HarperCollins, whom we thank, and, of course, Karen as well. So let me read to you from The Last Wife by Karen Hamilton. Prologue. Clients trust me because I blend in. It's a natural skill, my gift, if you like. I focus my lens and capture stories, like the ones unfolding tonight. Natural and guarded expressions, self-conscious poses, joyous smiles, reluctant ones from a teenage bridesmaid, swathed in silver and blood red. The groom is an old friend, yet I've only met his now wife twice. She seems reserved, hard to get to know, but in their wedding album, she'll glow. The camera does lie. My role is to take these lies and spin them into the perfect story. I take a glass of champagne from a passing server. I needn't be totally on the ball during the latter half of the evening, because by then people naturally loosen up. I find that the purest details are revealed in the discreet pictures I snatch during the final hours, however innocuously an event starts. And besides, it seems this event is winding down. The one downside of my job is the mixed bag of emotions evoked. I rarely take family photos anymore, so normally I'm fine. But today, watching the wedding festivities, the longing for what I don't have has crept up on me. People think that envy is a bad thing, but in my opinion, envy is a positive emotion. It has always been the best indicator for me to realise what's wrong with my life. People say, follow your dreams, yet I'd say, follow what makes you sick with envy. It's how I knew that I must stop deceiving myself and face up to how desperately I wanted to have a child. Delayed gratification is overrated. I place my camera on a table as the tempo eases and sit down on a satin-draped chair. As I watch the bride sweep across the dance floor with her new husband, I think of Nina, and an overwhelming tide of grief floods through me. I picture her haunted expression when she elicited 3 final promises from me. 2 are easy to keep. 1 is not. Nonetheless, a vow is a vow. I will be creative and fulfill it. I have a bad yet tempting idea which occasionally beckons me toward a slippery slope. I must do my best to avoid it, because when Nina passed the baton to me, she thought I was someone she could trust. However, as my yearning grows, the crushing disappointment increases every month, and the future I crave remains elusive. And she didn't know that I'd do anything to get what I want. Anything. Chapter 1. Beth isn't at home. Sorry, Ben even. I'll start that again. My glasses. Chapter 1. Ben isn't at home. I used to panic when that happened, assume that he was unconscious in a burning building, his oxygen tank depleted, his colleagues unable to reach him. All this despite his assurance that they have safety checks in place to keep an eye out for each other. He's been stressed lately, blames it on work. He loves his job as a firefighter, but nearly lost one of his closest colleagues in a fire on the 4th floor of a block of flats recently, when a load of wiring fell down and threatened to ensnare him. No. The reality is that he is punishing me. He doesn't have a shift today. I understand his hurt, but it's hard to explain why I did what I did. For a start, I didn't think that people actually sent out printed wedding invitations anymore. If I'd known that the innocuous piece of silver card smothered in horseshoes and church bells would be the ignition for the worst argument we'd ever had, I wouldn't have opened it in his presence. Marie Langham plus guest. I don't know what annoyed Ben more, the fact that he wasn't deemed important enough to be named, or that I said I was going alone. I'm working, I tried to explain. The invitation is obviously a kind of formality, a politeness. All this is easily rectifiable, he said. If you wanted me there, you wouldn't have kept me in the dark. The date was blocked off as work months ago in our calendar. True, but I couldn't admit it. He wouldn't appreciate being called a distraction. Now I have to make it up to him, because it's the right time of the month. He hates what he refers to as enforced sex, too much pressure, and any obvious scene setting like oyster and champagne dinners, new lingerie, an invitation to join me in the shower, or even a simple suggestion that we just shag. All the bog standard methods annoy him. It's hard to believe that the other couples have this problem. It makes me feel inadequate. One of our cats bursts through the flap and aims for her bowl. I observe her munching, oblivious to my return home, until this month's strategy presents itself to me. Nonchalance. A part of Ben's stress is that he thinks I'm obsessed with having a baby. I told him to look up the true meaning of the word, an unhealthy interest in something. It's not an obsession to desire something perfectly normal. I unpack, then luxuriate in a steaming bath filled with bubbles. I'm a real sucker for the sales promises. Relax and unwind and revitalise. I hear the muffled sound of a key in the lock. It's Ben. Who else would it be? Yet I jump out and wrap a towel around me. He's not alone. I hear the voices of our neighbours, Rob and Mike. He's brought in reinforcements to maintain the barrier between us. There are 2 ways for me to play this, and if you can't beat them... I dress in jeans and a t-shirt, twist my hair up and grip it with a hair clip, wipe mascara smudges from beneath my eyes, and head downstairs. "You're back," says Ben by way of a greeting. "The guys have come over for a curry." "Sounds perfect," I say, kissing him before hugging our friend's hello. I feel smug at the wrong-footed expression on Ben's face. He thought I'd be unable to hide my annoyance, that I'd pull him to one side and whisper, "It's orange," the colour my fertility app suggests is the perfect time, or suggest that I cook instead so I can ensure he eats as organically as possible. "Who's up for margaritas?" I say, with an "I'm game for a big night" smile. Ben's demeanour visibly softens. Result: I'm forgiven. The whole evening is an effortless success. Indifference and good, old-fashioned getting pissed works. Ben snores after drinking, but I lie still, resisting the urge to prod him. There's no point in antagonising him. It was actually my therapist who first planted the idea of playing it cool in my mind. Judy had implied, annoyingly, because I always want her to be on my side, that Ben's feelings mattered too. Last week's session began awkwardly as I struggled to find things to say, once again doubting the benefit of talking things through. Secrets develop out of necessity, and I'd already offloaded enough. Perhaps I'd simply run out of things to say or finally got bored of my own voice. But clearly not, because there I was, sitting opposite her. Again. Fighting the urge to leave, I studied the titles on the bookshelf behind her. I hate silence. It was the best I could come up with until the thread of thought tugged. Relief. I grasped and ran with it, a list of all Ben's good qualities and the positive aspects of our relationship. I'm glad I persevered, because I left the appointment buoyed up, full of hope. I imagine that if anyone ever found out that I was seeing someone, they might assume it was because of Nina and her shock diagnosis the summer before last. But it was way before that. Not even Ben knows. I like keeping it to myself, a lost hour each week, tucked away on the other side of the New Forest. Now that Nina has popped into my consciousness, and how can she not, I'll lie awake for even longer, and my irritation with Ben will escalate until I'm forced to silence him. I get up, scrabble around for my clothes on the floor, put my underwear and t-shirt back on, drink the glass of water I had the foresight to place beside me, and go downstairs. Wine and cocktail glasses scatter surfaces of the living area through to our galley kitchen. It looks like the aftermath of a party, not just 4 of us. I switch on the tap and down a pint of water. I diluted my cocktails so I don't feel too bad, but I want to flush out as many toxins as I can. Can't do any harm to try. This is a good opportunity to work, as I've been so busy lately that I have a backlog. I clear a space at the dining table and open my laptop. I love editing. There's something so indulgently omnipotent about the process because I get to choose what people retain as a memento of their special events. I try not to abuse their trust. I take my time, studying faces, expressions, colours, shadows, scanning for the unexpected to focus on. People think they can hide their feelings. But it's impossible. In my opinion, to succeed at it 100% of the time, it takes practice. The way I do it is that I imagine that I'm being constantly filmed, which isn't difficult nowadays. It's hard enough to avoid surveillance, let alone everyone with their phones at the ready. It's hard to concentrate. Distracted, I look back on old events. I can't help but zoom in on one person, Stuart. His pain is evident to me, even when he's smiling, because I'm privy to his vulnerabilities, given that I am the closest friend of his deceased wife. He is much better looking on film than in reality. The urge to reminisce overwhelmingly takes hold as I browse through more of my collection. I have hundreds of photos of his and Nina's children because I find those harder to delete. Friends sometimes mail me random shots or post them on social media. As a rule, I don't keep many of those because mine more than suffice. However, one has slipped in. It's of me and Stuart dancing at someone's 30th 3 years ago. Clearly I couldn't have taken it, and although we look natural and relaxed, it's not a great shot. I can't think why I didn't discard it. I never mix my files up. It's disconcerting. I guess the stress of the past few years is bound to manifest in varying ways. It's gone 2 by the time I return to bed. I know when I next open my eyes that it's morning because I never wake up late. I reach for Ben. My hand slides along the cool flatness of the sheet until I reach the edge of the bed. I sit up. He was seemingly out cold a few hours ago, plus he doesn't have a shift today. He's not in the bathroom or downstairs, and his bike is missing from the hall. Dread, the anxious kind when truth is forcing its horrible reality into your consciousness, forms. He knows from all the advice that it's best if we try again this morning to maximise our chances. I compose a message, then delete it. I can't think of the right words until I decide to keep it simple and unpressurised. I love you, XXX. I press send. My phone rings. Hope reignites. Ben isn't avoiding me. Perhaps he's merely nipped out for croissant or milk. It's not him. Hi, Stuart, I say. I hate to ask you, but... He phrases it in the same way that Nina used to, buried indignation rises, but I manage to suppress it because I already know that I'll do whatever favour he's going to ask me. Yes? Someone tried to break into the garage last night. There's a locksmith available at 9:30. I note that his Australian accent sounds slightly more pronounced on the phone. Any chance you could wait in after taking the kids to school? I'm unprepared for a meeting I can't cancel. I don't want to leave the garage door broken because it makes the interconnecting entrance to the house less secure. Didn't the security alarm go off? Nina insisted on having one installed earlier this year. I haven't got into the habit of setting it. It was something Nina usually did before we went to bed. Fresh sadness hits me, as does guilt at my initial irritation. I'll be around ASAP. I'm reminded of how much I enjoy being needed, although not taken for granted. There is a difference. Stuart and I have a clean slate. I must tread carefully, though, because by making myself so available to Nina and her family, it fueled my discontent in the first place. That was the